It's time for another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina, featuring industry outlooks, panel discussions on trending topics, and interviews with business executives, community leaders, and government officials. And now, coming to you from the Drum Creative Studio, here's your host, longtime South Carolina business publisher, Rick Jenkins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina. As always, I am your host, Rick Jenkins. We're coming to you from the Drum Creative Studios, and if you are keeping score, we are at episode number 47. We've got an industry outlook for you today, and specifically, we're going to be talking about the residential real estate outlook. And here to give us that and to talk us through it is Richard Cox. Richard is the broker in charge at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, Joyner Realtors. That's a mouthful. Richard, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Rick.
Well, it's good to have you here.
It's easy. I mean, we're not going to forget each other's name.
That's right.
That's not
That's right.
bad.
Have you always gone by Richard?
I've always gone by
Rick.
Richard. My high school golf coach used to call me Ricky.
Dude,
I didn't really like that.
That was my name growing up, Ricky. Yeah, so anybody from my hometown knows me, Ricky, but we digress. Joyner's Realtors, founded, I believe, in 1964.
1964.
By Dan Joyner himself, of course.
And today is actually the anniversary of Big Dan's passing.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and 60 years in business in the upstate, always been and always hopefully will be a family-owned business. We're the largest residential brokerage in the upstate, also the number one in terms of volume and units in the upstate.
Okay, Richard, before we get into looking ahead, I want to take a look at kind of where we are right now and kind of where we've been. Over the span of about a year that ended in July of this past year, the Feds raised the interest rate 11 times. Now, since then, of course, it's coming down. They raised the interest rate, of course, to fight inflation and try and get that under control, which things look much, much better from that perspective. But they have raised it a few times, and it appears that they will raise it 2 more times in 2025, according to things that have been said. So I guess what I want to know is, how has this roller coaster of inflation, interest rates going up and down, how has it impacted your industry?
Well, I mean, I think it goes without saying that we have definitely been living in a new world. And the way that you look at that is traditionally the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, which is that's the ballpark of anybody that's buying a house, you're going to get a 30-year fixed
standard way of financing.
That's it. So in 2020, the end of 2020 into 21, we went down to a place that it wasn't real. It was not real. You have 2.65, 2.5, 2.45 mortgage rates. You had literally mortgage rates that were negative to inflation, which meant that it actually was cheaper for you to borrow money than to just put money in a bank. So over time, the 10-year Treasury bill has always been the benchmark for a 30-year mortgage. And that spread between the 10-year benchmark and the 30-year mortgage has always been somewhere between 170 and 200 points, or 1.7 to 2% of a difference. So you've got a 3.5, you're at 5.5. So like wherever that is. Well, I think what we've seen now is there has been a breakage from that. And now that spread is much, 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 much wider. So now we're almost at 3% of a gap. And I think that if you look at somebody who's on the fence right now about buying a house that says, man, I'm just going to wait till interest rates come back down. Well, I think we broke the system in 2020 and 2021 by unhitching this 10-year Treasury note from the 30-year mortgage.
Yeah.
Now, what that means for home buyers is, the cost of money has gone up, but the cost of money has gone up for everybody. And what you really need to look at in terms of the residential real estate market is, from a family perspective, is this a good thing for my family to consider purchasing or selling my house? Is it a good thing for my job? Is it a good thing for the things that I love to do? Or is it something that I've always dreamed about? Is that I've always dreamed of having a house with a pool. I want to move closer to the golf club. I want to be closer to, I want to not have to drive 35 minutes to work. And I also don't want to have my 11 and my 13-year-old in bunk beds. So I look at that from the perspective of the true professional real estate agent. From a residential perspective, understands that buying a house isn't not necessarily dollars and cents. It's time and memories.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. And I would also say this, that this, what is a good interest rate that you're going to get now? A 7, give or take?
No, I can get you down to 6.
Okay. All right. Now, compared to almost any time in history other than these last few years, that's a good rate.
Historically, you are in the on the standard deviation curve. We are way over here.
Right.
On the
That's
good
right.
side.
It's a fair rate. It's just that we
Yes.
got spoiled for a while. So let's turn to home prices and that kind of thing. What is the average home value in South Carolina right now?
Right now in South Carolina, we're just under 350,000.
350,000, the average home out there. What is the median home sale price?
Median home sale price is 335.
Okay, so about the same as the average. We do, well, before I get into affordable housing, because there's issues there I want to talk about for a sec, but let's talk about inventory. What does inventory look like right now?
Okay, so right now, currently, where we sit, we have 3.4 months worth of inventory in the GGAR metro area.
Right.
So that means that if all of the houses sold and nothing new came on the market, it would take 3.4 months to sell every single thing that's on the market, which healthy is 6 or higher. We're still operating at half of our inventory.
Right. So you talk about a home value and a median home price in the 330, 350 range. How does that compare to what we were experiencing a year or two ago?
We've had about 3.5% to 4% price growth.
Okay.
So we're not in the 17% where we were in 2021.
Right.
But we're also not losing value.
Right. Richard, how about average time on market?
It's around 52 days on market. And so that, if you want to look at in a historical perspective where the momentum or the trend is, 52 days on market is up considerably from where it was 2 years ago, but 52 days on market still is below when I was in production. If it was on the market for 180 days, there was no cause for concern. Now we're in a different world, and we're just in a different world. But 52 days on market is a fairly big indicator for me that the Greenville market is not bouncing up and down like a bouncy ball. We are growing at a healthy rate.
So would you, considering all those statistics, would you consider this a buyer's market or a seller's market?
It depends on where you are or where you want to be. If you are in the $3 million downtown condo for a part-time home, I would say it's a buyer's market. If you are a $350,000 house in Sugar Creek, it is absolutely a seller's market. Real estate is like barbecue. It is local, and that means lot and block, man.
Real estate like barbecue. I like that. I'm going to use it. We have a problem in South Carolina with affordable housing. We don't have enough of it. And not so much in the upstate area, even though we have an affordable housing in the upstate area, which is where we record here. But we definitely have a problem with affordable housing in the low country area. And when we're talking about affordable housing, I'm talking $250,000 homes, I think. I think that's the way I would define it. From your perspective, do we need more of those types of homes, and how many?
Well, one of the things is, and I don't know if you know about this, but U-Haul produces their moving statistics every year. Do you want to know who the #1 state in the United States is this year for the first time ever in terms of U-Haul statistics and one-way directional moving?
We'll say South Carolina.
You would be correct. You don't even need a second guess.
That's right.
And we're uniquely situated because, one, we started 7-8 years ago as a state with less than 4 million people in terms of total population, and now we're close to 6. So we've grown by almost 60%. which is that's not great considering the fact that we are very, very, very small in terms of land size. The affordability index in Charleston has gone from of a baseline of 100. The affordability index in Charleston has gone from 76 to 127 in 3 years. Greenville started at 64, and now we're at 96.
Wow.
Columbia has midlined a little bit just because you have less of a population density in Columbia, but Columbia is ticking up too. So what I look at is I say, South Carolina is a great place to live. It's a great place to work, and it's a great place to raise a family. We just don't have a lot of land. And in order for us to tackle the affordable housing issue, we need to have public-private partnership to be able to manage density on a manageable scale. So like, for example, there's $20 million that's been earmarked for affordable housing in Greenville County. And man, we've only got like 15 units on the docket for anything because it gets gummed up.
Yeah.
I think this is, I honestly, I think it's a big thing for our community to step up and contribute. But at the same time, we can't expect, government housing or public institutions to be able to pick up and carry the load.
Yeah, I hear you. A new ranking came out not too long ago. We're just talking a period of several weeks or a month or two, something like that, that showed that Charleston is the best city in the United States to rent in. And I have to feel that that is a little bit about affordable housing, where apartments are having to be competitive, and more people are renting there.
The pendulum swung in two different directions where, the average per square foot rent went from $1.10 to $1.55 in a year, and now it's back to $1.20.
Yeah.
Now you see that, and a lot of that, you have commercial space that now needs to be repurposed because we have larger populations. We just need to have people that are willing to sit down and take stock of what do people need, what is their biggest problem, and how do we address that? Not just federal grants or whatever other sort of easy fix Band-Aid issue that we need to just rubber stamp something to go ahead and just take on. Oh, well, we're going to earmark $30 million for affordable housing and then do nothing with it.
Right. Let's stick there, but go to the side just a little bit and talk about new construction starts. New construction starts seem high to me from the types of things that I've been reading here recently. I don't know how they compare year over year, though. And of course, I'm talking about new homes, new subdivisions, new neighborhoods. What are you seeing?
We're up 23% in the county, but nationwide, we are about 10 million units short of where it actually needs to be now. So while you could say that, yes, new construction is up 30% from where it was this exact time last year, we're still about 10 million units short of where we need to be across the entire nation, which means that it could take us years to adequately address the construction that needs to be done to accommodate everybody in terms of population growth.
Let's back up a minute, and just given all of these conversations that we've had in 2025, what do you expect home values to do? Are we going to continue? What percent did you say we were up year over year on values?
3.5%.
3.5. Is that going to be the type of trend line you anticipate?
Rick, my crystal ball's been broken for 40 years, but hey, look, I would say that we will continue to see consistent price appreciation for residential real estate in the Greenville area in South Carolina ahead of inflation. So I'm saying somewhere between 3 and 6% in terms of price appreciation for a year, healthy growth. And what I want to see in terms of home sales in the state of South Carolina, of which about 5 million homes maybe will be sold in the United States, I want to see us sell somewhere between 300 and 500,000 homes.
There has been talk of a housing market crash or a recession in 2025. Now, I think most of that talk is more geared toward, and I'm not talking about the recession, but a housing market crash is more geared toward really larger cities. But what is your feeling on that? Is there any concern there?
So you look at headlines in the news, and so you just pull up any news site that you want to and then search real estate and you see what comes up. Headlines do way more to terrify than they do to clarify. They're there to put you behind a paywall and get you to pay $9.99 to be able to read the rest of the article, right? And so when we went into the pandemic, pre-pandemic, and then through the pandemic, then there was this urban flight that took place. Well, there was supposed to be a real estate crash that was associated with that, right? That never happened. In fact, quite the opposite. Yes. So now what I feel like is happening in our residential real estate markets more than anything is that people are now valuing quality. They're valuing quality of life, and they're valuing accessibility, convenience, and family. And so what that means in terms of a real estate market crash, that would mean that real estate markets operate the same exact way that the stock market does, right? That so once everybody starts to sell this one stock, the price goes way down, right? So then that would say that real estate sells for a fixed price, right? When everybody flies, the price goes down. We are not making any more land in South Carolina insofar as I'm aware of. And as long as South Carolina remains a great place to live, a great place to work, and a great place to raise a family, the real estate market crash, not only is that a figment of people's imagination, it's not even a thing. It's not even a twinkle in our eye.
Well, that's good to know. And speaking of a good place to live and a good place to work, South Carolina is becoming more and more popular as a place to move to. And South Carolina is one of the very top states in the United States in terms of domestic migration. People continue to move here and continue to move here. And we are getting folks moving here from Florida because they can't deal with insurance issues there that are popping up, and the heat and the hurricanes and all that kind of stuff. Are you feeling that migration?
Yeah, we call those halfbacks. Interesting.
Halfbacks?
Yes, halfbacks.
Explain.
So you have snowbirds that move and they go all the way south, and they realize that was too much, and they come back here, and then they just realize that, guess what? Greenville's a darn good place to live.
Oh, I love
right
that.
there, right in the middle. We're right in the middle.
Right.
And interestingly enough, too, as a pro-business state, as a right-to-work state, as a great place for both retirees, I can get from the mountains to the beach in 3 hours. South Carolina is as well-positioned as a place to be able to live, work, and have fun as any place in the United States, if you ask me.
Yeah, right. I agree.
But I'm pretty biased.
Yeah, and I'm biased too. Let's switch gears here. Is it hard to find good agents?
Well, not if you call the right people.
Okay.
I would say there are a lot of real estate agents. There are not a lot of real estate professionals.
Yeah.
And the reason, back to your point earlier about have we seen a lot of people exit the business from our company, despite the fact that we may be a large company that retains a lot of associated licensees, our standard is high. And so from our perspective, we haven't seen as many people exit the business because we've got people that are in it to be in it.
Yeah. I'm going to get you out of here on this, Richard. Will 2025 be a good year to buy a home? Will it be a good year to sell a home? What say you?
If it fits your needs and you can afford the monthly payment, it is a good time to buy a home. If you have outgrown from any perspective the aspects of your house, it is a good time to find a qualified, seasoned, professional real estate agent to help you figure out if it's a good time to sell your home. I won't say unequivocally it's a great time to sell and it's a great time to buy, because we both know that's doublespeak and that's not true. If you have a need, it's time for you to sit down with a real estate agent, to sit down and have somebody that's willing to take the time to look at your situation and see if it can be improved. And if you're looking to buy a house, if you can afford it and it meets your needs, 80%, it's a great time to buy a house.
Spoken like the true professional broker in charge he is, folks. That's Richard Cox. Richard works for Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, Sedan Joyner Realtors, and that was the 2025 Residential Real Estate Outlook. Richard, thanks, buddy.
Always.
Yep.
Thank you, Rick.
I appreciate
you, man.
Folks, thanks for joining us. Come back and see us again on another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina.